So, I bit the bullet and watched Ric Flair's last match. It was awful. And generally, this is where I would say see you tomorrow for more information. But I've kicked it around, and I thought, well, hey. First and foremost, the match was not good. This was by far, if not the one of the worst, if not the worst, retirement matches I've seen. That is including Hulk Hogan's last match, but that was in TNA against Sting. Now, I have gone on to say in multiple videos, whenever I talk about Ric Flair, that Rick should have retired after his WrestleMania 24 match against Shawn Michaels. Just like how I think Shawn Michaels should have stayed retired and never have gotten back in the ring.
I'll remember that chapter of my life forever.
So,
We cried. We protected that
there's an argument to be made that Ric Flair is still Ric Flair. He's still a 16-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's still the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing son of a gun.
When it comes to longevity, who has the highest percentage of its vehicles still on the road after 10 years? Subaru. And when it comes to value, which popular brand has the lowest cost of ownership? Lower than Toyota, Honda, or Hyundai?
Rick could still go in TNA. Somewhat.
It's easy to love a Subaru.
But Ric Flair's best years was behind him at that point.
Oh, you're the CEO now. All right. With Chunky Soup, lunchtime is your halftime.
When you look at Ric Flair,
Get fast relief of your worst allergy symptoms, including nasal congestion with powerful Claritin tea.
I don't really acknowledge his Impact run. Oh, his TNA run, excuse me. In my mind, his last match is Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin musicking his face. But there's no denying that I cannot deny that he worked other places. So, first off, Rick started the match and he ended the match with the weakest punch and weakest figure 4 leg lock I've ever seen. There were fans chanting, "You still got it." And I watched the match, and those fans must have been blind. Because there's no way Ric Flair, from what I saw, still had it.
Clearly you're a safe driver. You could save hundreds for safe driving with Liberty Mutual. They customize your car with service.
I remember during a WWE WrestleMania panel where people were the likes of JBL and Ric Flair were on the panel, and the subject got brought up about their respective retirements. JBL said that he knew it was time. Meanwhile, Ric Flair said that he didn't want to leave. He didn't want to leave the squared circle. He was told he had to leave. And that's the biggest problem with Ric Flair. Ric Flair is the guy that seemingly never wants to admit when he's done. So, considering that Rick led the match and was calling it, that means that it wasn't a fast-paced match. It was more like catered to Rick. I never thought I would see Ric Flair having to hold up the belt, having to hold up the NWA belt with his hands, like a kid who put on pants that were way too big and they don't have a belt. So the only way for the pants to stay up is for them to pull up on them, just for them to sag down. Ric Flair looked like he was about to die throughout the entire match. 14 minutes in, he takes a suplex from Jay Lethal, and Rick didn't know where he was. That's what it looked like to me. So, it wasn't a good match. It came out that Rick passed out twice in the match itself. Here's my question. Was it worth it? I mean, seriously, was it worth it? Ric Flair got the retirement that not even The Undertaker got not even The Undertaker got when he retired. And he worked for the company for 30 years. But the Raw after WrestleMania saw everybody come to the ring. Undertaker came and knelt down and he shed a tear. Ric Flair is not Ric Flair. Ric Flair in the 90s is Ric Flair. Ric Flair in the 80s is Ric Flair. Ric Flair in the 2000s is even Ric Flair. But the Ric Flair that I saw wasn't Ric Flair. He was Richard Flair trying to be Ric Flair. And he had heart trouble, and he should have never had the match that he had. So, with that being said, Ric Flair was the man. He was a 16-time world champion. He was the limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing wheeling dealing, son of a gun. He was one of the greats, and he's done everything that he can to tarnish his legacy and to tarnish the Ric Flair name. I'm Hardcore Christopher. Keep it hardcore, everyone.